Webheads unite! Yes, welcome back, guys, to Comic Book Corner 2.0, and I'm bringing you another episode of After the Poll. That's right, guys. This is episode 18, otherwise titled as Strange Academy Issue 1 Stands Out. I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer. Guys, hopefully you will hang around and watch the entirety of this show. If not, that's fine. I totally understand. I find it surprising that people find me actually entertaining. But I want to welcome you all to the show. I promise that we will have a good one today. Haven't had one in a couple of weeks. So welcome. At any time, fans, if you like, please hit that subscribe button, right? Give it a like. And if you can, send in a super chat. That really helps out the channel so I can do more giveaways, get more stuff to show to you, and just make the channel better. So you guys are awesome as it is. So thank you so much for joining me. And thank you for all the comments yesterday on the 6,000 subscriber milestone. I really appreciate that. That was pretty cool. I hit it earlier in the week, and I think now I'm at like 6,040 subs. So, yeah, you guys are great, and it's all because of you. You guys make it possible. All right, so here are the books that we will be talking about. So, first things first, we're going to be talking about Mercy, Issue 1. That one's from Image Comics. The next one we're going to be talking about is Spider-Man Noir, Issue 1. So, it's another one. The next one will be Superman Villains, Issue 1. Next will be Marauders, Issue 9. The next book we'll be talking about is Justice League 42. Batman, Issue 90. And then we're going to be talking about Strange Academy, Issue 1. That's right, guys. And, of course, I'm going to be taking all of your guys' comments. We're going to have some great discussions, and the show is going to be a lot of fun like it is each and every week. So thank you so much. So let's see who's on the show today so far. First things first is we have Andrew's on the show. And he says, what's up, Webhead? So he's doing the battle cry, trying to get everyone united. So welcome, Andrew. Next, we have Xavier Frank is on. He says, let's get this party started. So he's excited. And Aubrey says, brr, what's up? And Moon Knight 101A says, I love Strange Academy. And we're talking about that later. And Jonathan's on the show and says, Mercy #1 is my personal pick of the week. So we're going to talk about that book. That's going to be the first book we talk about today. And the next one is Nitro Bass says, hey, Webheads, finally caught a live stream for a minute. So, again, whether you guys are on lunch, you're on break, or you have a 5 minutes to watch it, that's pretty awesome. You know, and you can always watch it post-live and see what we talk about. So, now that we have a few watchers on here, we got about 13 people watching. Let's talk about the first book today, okay? So the first one we're going to be talking about is, let's scroll back up, Mercy, Issue 1. Let's get this ticker off of here because you guys know that you have to subscribe and all that by now. So that's good. All right, so we're talking about Mercy, Issue 1. So this book was a little hard for me to follow at first because I get almost like the two characters confused at first. They're two women. They look very similar. And yeah, but I feel like there's a lot of story here that obviously has to be told. And you can't get all of it in this issue. You basically get a female in this book that has suffered through a horrific event of a mine explosion. There was something evil down there. We don't know what happened, but in the events of this book, it looks like she is now a widow. Her husband has died, and she's going through some PTSD through this whole situation. And it opens up that way. The artwork is really gorgeous in this book. I really like the beginning, and we get to see a glimpse of what happened. and we kind of don't know anything else, really. We kind of get introduced to, like I said, the main characters in this book. So, which is Lady Swanson, who is the one that suffered through this event. And then you get another girl or another woman in here, which I think is the woman that is riding the carriage in this book. And I think maybe she has some kind of crazy powers as well. And she looks very similar to her also. So, and this is her kind of like at the end of the book. All this stuff in between, there's just a lot of going on. There's this one girl who is missing her mom, and she feels like it's, you know, she's an angel, and she has her dad that was lost, and she works in this cotton factory. And so it was very, I don't know. It's like, I'm going to have to read it a second time to really kind of get into it. But I think it definitely has potential. And this other woman that has made her way from Seattle to the point that we're in now is quite, you know, I think she has some kind of ability, but we just don't know anything about her. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. Her name is Lady Swanson, I think it is. I don't know. I get them all confused. The two ladies look exactly the same, but it seems interesting. I just need to know more, and I gotta then what? I gotta put it together. That's what I gotta do. So yeah, beautiful looking book though. I just need more to really kind of get into that story if it makes any sense to you. So I wish I could tell you more about it. I just quite wasn't into it yet, but I'm going to give it another try. I definitely think it has potential and a lot of story to be told here. So I don't know how many of you guys actually read the book. If you guys go into my haul video this past week, if you haven't checked it out, I'm actually doing a giveaway on Mercy issue 1. That Art Germ variant, I have another copy of it. So if you want to enter in that contest, check it out and you could be entered. I'll do the drawing in the next comic book haul. All right, so let's see. We got a few comments in here. And let's see. Let me find them. Let's see. We got River City Noel says, hello, fellow webheads. What is up? And we got JDA 3 Comics says, what up? This me, Joshua Anderson, my new logo for YouTube. Oh, okay. So it's Joshua Anderson. Welcome, bud. Glad you have your nice new logo. It looks pretty cool. And let's see. Laughing. Joshua says, I read Force 1. I liked it a lot. A great read. Aubrey says, I invested heavy in Dave Raposa on this go around. He can start and end a series and not have a notable mention. Come on. Come on, B. Let's see what else we got. JA says, I misspelled it. He said X-Force. Oh, okay. And Two Gun Pedro's on the show. He's like, pew, pew. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. So, yeah, that was Mercy for me. I feel like it's going to be a good book. It just needs more for me. So we'll see what happens with it. All right. So let's go on to the next book this week, guys. The next one we're going to be talking about is Spider-Man Noir. This is issue number 1. So this is another new number 1 book that actually came out this week. And there was a lot of books, a lot of new number 1s. And, you know, certain things just really got to capture me in order to really, I guess, hang on to the book. And Spider-Man Noir is a great character. And the one thing that really stood out for me in this particular issue was really the artwork. I loved the artwork going into this. I loved the tone of it, the charcoal black and grays. It really makes you feel like you're in like that 40s era, and just the way they talk, you know, there's just like, oh, come on, the coppers are here and let's go. He's a mook and all that other stuff. And we wind up seeing Spider-Man Noir. He's really obviously a detective. And there was this murder that happened to this particular waitress, and she has this stone in her hands, and Peter is trying to figure out what this stone represents. And it was this sister of a scientist that wound up dying. And really what he has to do is he winds up having to travel to solve this crime. I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. It was another one of those issues that didn't blow me away. And I don't know if I will be actually picking up issue 2. I hate to say that because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan and I love all Spider-Man stuff. I might give it a second issue and see where it goes. But again, there are a lot of books getting ready to come out. We're hitting summertime. We're getting ready for event season. And so there's times where I'm going to have to be picky and choosy when it comes to certain books. And I just don't know how I felt about this one. It doesn't bother me that he was a detective, but I just wasn't like really into the case. I was just more blown away by looking at the book than the actual story itself, if that makes any sense to you. So it was okay for me. I know people really like this, and that's fine. But it just, I don't know. It was one of those books as a new number 1. I was just like, it's okay. It didn't really stand out. So don't have much to say about that one either. So these books that I picked out was kind of a little bit of a disappointment. For me, this wasn't a really heavy comic book week, and there wasn't really many books that was like, man, this is going to be awesome. Oh, I can't wait for this. There was just like, okay, they're coming out, and I'm curious to see what they have to say. All right, so let's check out some of the other comments on here. Let's see. See if I read this one already. Yep, I read that. The whole comment shifted, so sorry. He goes, there he is. And the art in Spider-Man Noir was amazing, in my opinion. Absolutely. That was the standout piece of it, and the coloring and everything. And that was really cool. I just wasn't into Peter so much. I wasn't into Mary Jane. And, Aunt May looks exactly the same as she always does. Let's see. River City Noel says, I love Spider-Man Noir. That's cool. I'm glad you liked it. I just feel like that book might not be for everybody. Joshua says, I've been loving the Ghost Rider. Been a good read. Ghost Rider has never been a favorite character of mine. When it comes to like supernatural magic stuff, like all that stuff, like, and Justice League Dark and all those types of comics, like I never been a huge fan of it. That's why when I titled this with Strange Academy surprises me, and we'll talk about it later, it had to have been really good in order for me to like it, because I'm just not a magician type, Next, Xavier Frank says the art was beautiful. River City Noel says the art definitely set the tone of the book. Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving the new writer for Batman. He's great. I'm glad my favorite character got a new writer. Hey, man. Batman is freaking awesome. And the artwork in that book is even better. It is so good. I am so on board with Batman right now. Moon Knight says, Daredevil is my pick of the week. I will continue to champion this underrated gem. And I found out yesterday, someone commented on my haul video about picking up Daredevil because it was a new number 1, not a new number 1, a new jumping on point. It was the start of a new story. So they said this is probably the best time to jump on it. So if I go to my shop next week, I'm probably going to actually go to my shop and pick up Daredevil and see if I can catch on to the story. Guys, leave me in the comments below if you think I will be able to jump onto the story and understand what's going on at this point at the beginning of this new story arc. All right, let's see. Second Street Marvel says, I thought the art was good, but the story was not as good. So they agreed with me on that particular one. Nitro Bass says, I'm the same way. It was pretty good. Love the art. So yeah, kind of average, right? And it didn't blow you away. And when you read so many comic books, especially as many, as I do, and some of you guys probably read more, it's just like your money's got to go to books that you really enjoy. There's books that suck There's books that are okay. There's books that's good. There's very good. And then there's freaking just books that blow you away. You know, are you going to hold on to a book that's okay in hopes for it that it might get better? If a book is like, doesn't blow me away or really captures my interest after that first issue, how's it going to be 3 or 4 issues from now, right? And then especially if it's a mini series only has so much time to tell its story. And if that story doesn't capture you in that first issue, you might as well just ditch it, because it's like, I don't think it's going to ever get better. That's just my opinion, though. Again, everyone's opinion is different, but that's how I feel, at least anyway. Joshua says, I hope your eye is feeling better. Now that you mentioned that, my eye is not feeling better. It did feel better. Then both my eyes acted up last week, but it only lasted for a couple days. I had my contacts in for a week. And then yesterday, this left eye again is just totally on fire. I don't know if it's my contacts, if I have to change them. I don't know if it's the season where there's so much pollen and they're doing like controlled burning in the street because of all this construction that's going on. So I don't know if it's drying out my eye, but it's so bad I can't even wear my contacts. So yeah, it's freaking acting up again and it sucks. I'm really pissed off about it because I can't stand wearing my glasses and teaching tennis. It's so bad. All right, next. Andrew, Spider-Man Noir was awesome. Juan Ferreira is going to get a lot of work. That's the artist on there. And I agree. I think the artwork is freaking phenomenal, man. I was just hoping for some kind of a different type of story, I guess. I just didn't want a murder mystery, I guess. And if you're into murder mysteries, that it'll probably be a book for you. Cheetown Bud joins the show and gives the thumbs up like he does every week. Zero Forever. I've always had a thing for Ghost Rider since the 90s. And that, boom. I like the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider more than Blaze, much less attached to him. Yeah, Ghost Rider was that character right in the 90s with like Morbius, Darkhawk, Sleepwalker, all those characters. And I've shown off my glow in the dark Ghost Rider cover that I have, and it's cool. You know, I think Ghost Rider conceptually is a great character, right? But I just can't get into him, man, for some reason. All right. Joshua says, I'm at 898 comics. Oh, you have 898 comics that you read? That's pretty cool. Zero Forever says, I buy the X books and Deadpool and Harley. Recently dropped Flash and Wonder Woman. I haven't read Flash in a very long time. I did not read 750 yet. But I plan on reading that. I haven't read Flash since the beginning of Rebirth, I think. Aggressively Relaxing. It's really easy to jump into this Daredevil book. It's cliche Daredevil, but it's art. Writing is so good that it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's good to know. I might give it a try. I've just heard so many great things about it, and people are like, Mike, you gotta get it. You gotta get it. Does anybody know if there's a trade for the series yet? Because if there is, I might go ahead and pick that up. River City Noel says, did anyone read Join the Future by Aftershock? I did not read that myself. My shop, I don't think, had it. When it comes to like Aftershock and Volt and publishers like those, they only carry those books by special order. So if they do have a copy, I'll pick it up, but if not, then I have to special order it. And sometimes it's already too late before I actually know that it could be a good book. Let's see. Not really sure you could jump on Daredevil issue 19, even though it's a new arc, because Zdarsky's previous issues are important to know. Why Hell's Kitchen is spoilers. So that's why I want to know if there's a volume, a trade for this volume still, so I can start reading it and then maybe catch on with individual issues. So we'll see there. I buy the main X book no matter what. I suffered through the Chuck Austin Uncannies. Yeah, so It's like that with every character, though, right? Let's see. We got that comment. This one here. Joshua loves the Flash, thinks the Flash is really good. Zero Forever says, I dropped like issue 70, I think, for Flash. I don't know how far I was in Flash when I dropped it, like the actual number. I just thought it got boring. The story was too drawn out for me. Andrew says, River City, no, I read Join the Future, enjoyable first issue. It was cool premise. And Second Stream Marvel also read the same book, so that's good. So you guys might want to pick that up. Darkhawk and Sleepwalker, hell yeah. I bought that Glow in the Dark Ghost Rider because of you, LOL. Oh, is that serious? Did you actually see my comics episode where I had that Ghost Rider issue? That shit's crazy. That's the second printing. I had the gold one. The first one is black, actually. That's funny as hell. I actually have that Glow in the Dark Green Lantern cover when he first became Parallax. Also, man, we need a movement of Glow in the Dark covers again. That would be awesome. Next, I believe there are 3 Daredevils trade out on the current run. Well, that would be cool. Okay, so I got to look for that. I'll look for the Daredevil trades from Zdarsky, and because you guys are sitting there putting it and letting me know, so I'm going to look for it. Maybe I can go get at least the first one to start. His pick of the week is Strange Adventure. However, I didn't read Strange Academy, and I didn't read Strange Adventure. I enjoyed the Join the Future as well. And Josh says, I have the Glow in the Dark Ghost Rider comic myself. I got it for $1. That's right, baby. 90s Comics Dollar Bin Special. Awesome conversation, guys. I love it. This is what makes this live stream so much fun. It's just all these cool little conversations that we have. Glow in the Dark covers are fire. That's what Two Gun Pedro says. Zero Forever says, is there any books you buy? Excuse me. No matter how bad, like Uncanny and Me? LOL, I think paid $1 for the Glow in the Dark Ghosties. No matter what, I always buy Amazing Spider-Man. No matter how shitty it is or how bad the story is, I will always buy it. Batman is a pretty close second. I almost dropped Tom King's Batman, but I didn't. Green Lantern. I was at the point where I was reading every single Green Lantern main book, and then Grant Morrison took it over, and I can't read it. I couldn't read it anymore. But Spider-Man is probably the only book, that and Batman are probably the 2 books that I will always read no matter what. It was like that with The Walking Dead for me also, until obviously it ended. So there's a couple of books there, but Amazing Forever. I got Amazing Spider-Man books for days. All right, so let's talk about the next book, guys. All right, Webhead. So we talked about Mercy quickly, Spider-Man Noir quickly. Here's another book we're going to be talking about quickly, and it's going to be Superman Villains, issue 1. I was such a dumbass to buy this book. I really was. Look at this cover. When you see this cover, let me take away the banner, right? When you see this cover and you see all these bad guys on there and you're like, that's pretty cool. It makes you want to buy this comic. I guess the cover artist here did its job and sold the book to me because of a badass cover. What I should have done is when I got my books from my pull, I should have opened up this book. I should have looked at the artwork and I should have said, fuck no, I'm not picking this shit up, because the artwork in this book, and I'm sorry, is obviously it's all over the place. It's different artists that do this book. So that's fine. But the story itself is just a hodgepodge of advertisements for Superman, right? Supergirl issue 37's coming out because she's in this book. We wind up having advertisement for Event Leviathan because that's going on. Action Comics, Superman. It's an advertisement book. That's basically what this particular issue was. Probably the most entertaining part of this book was when you get Superman, who's doing his broadcast, and we wind up seeing Kara in there, and she's just like, "What? You revealed your identity?" And she flips the fuck out, and she calls Superman weak, but she's obviously one of the infected. And you tell her story, and it just says, "See what happens in Supergirl issue 37." Marvel does this shit too. I get it, but I didn't think it was going to be that type of book. I thought it was going to be Superman. He reveals his identity. The evil bad guys all come together with a plan to stop Superman, and they all do this crazy ass battle. It's just some hodgepodge nonsense. Lex Luthor has a conniption fit, and because he's all mad and angry about Superman, he throws his keyboard. Toy Master's in here. He's fighting Superman. He gets thrown to jail. The guy from Event Leviathan comes. He's like, "I'll use you, and you can build your toys, and you can work for me." And I'm just like, no, I don't care. I just don't. This book was just disappointment. The artwork in here in this part, this was just like, it was like photographs of real people. But then it was just like, I guess it was painted. That's just the way it looked to me anyway. It just did not capture me at all. Then in the beginning, you get Pa Kent, who's obviously alive in the beginning of this book, but it's only 2 pages, and they share a cool moment, but that's about it. This was probably the most disappointing comic that I have read, oh man, for the year, I think, so far. There was one other book that I remember that was really bad also, but this probably takes the cake because I could see a potential in this book, and it just misses the mark. And Superman, for me, has just been so disappointing. For a person that was never a really huge Superman fan, but respected the character and grown to like him towards the end of the New 52 with Peter J. Tomasi's run, for Bendis to come on and to take it and to pretty much dismantle the character that I actually wound up liking, it's just disappointing. They had such a great thing going, and they kind of just destroyed it. And it's really sad. And I'm hoping that DC can find its way with Superman again in the future. And, we'll see what happens. But if you haven't gotten your comics yet, don't buy this. This was definitely disappointing for me. So there was my rant. Sorry I ran on for it. Probably people left because they're probably like, whatever, this guy's stupid. But anyway, let's check out the comics and see what happens. All right, so got a few here. So I just think Joshua left. He had to leave. Let's see what's this here. Is there any books you buy? Okay, so we talked about that one. Yeah, Joshua had to leave. So thanks, Joshua. Hopefully you can watch the show later on. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, it would look cool on the wall, and it does. Awesome. Let's see what we got here. Superman Villains was I haven't been that disappointed in a comic in a long time. Is probably a good term, isn't it? Just a forgiving term. Moon Knight 101 says, man, I've given up on Superman after the Jonathan Kent incident. I don't read Superman and Action anymore, but I jumped on Superman when he revealed his identity. He's like, I'm Superman. Did you not notice that the whole time? Because obviously I've been only wearing these glasses to conceal my identity. I mean, that's really what it is, And I was like, okay, I want to see where this book goes from there. And it just didn't go in anywhere after that. And so I was disappointed, but I wanted to see the whole villain situation because I am a big fan of villains. They really make the heroes, right? Great villains make great heroes. And I love sometimes rooting for the bad guys. And it just didn't hit the mark there. Let's see. I'm out. Take care. All congrats on the 6K subs. Thank you, Nitro. Thanks for tuning in for the time that you had. River City says, never been a huge Superman fan. It's that bad? Yeah, it's pretty bad. It is pretty bad, Zero. Aggressively Relaxed and says, I always thought The Walking Dead didn't have enough respect for the monsters who live in Atlanta. A zombie apocalypse would last 3 hours tops. It's kind of funny. It's like, I know this is not a funny situation. You know how we're dealing with like the coronavirus and stuff like that. But it's just like, it's almost like the closest thing we have to like a zombie apocalypse, right? It's like people on the news here in Florida were like, what you need to do to prepare for the coronavirus, get enough food and water to last you 14 days so you can stay isolated and away from the virus. It's like, really? Are we going this far? It's just kind of weird. And then on the map, they show you like, places that are infected and they're all red. And it's like, man, they really make it seem like the world is coming to an end. So it is kind of wild, though, you know? All right. So let's see what we got. But yeah, zombie apocalypse is pretty funny in Walking Dead. I loved it, though, man. That is what Todd McFarlane has said. You got to have a badass cover. Zero says, it's like one of those free comic book days you pay for. Yeah, that's true, but it's free. And this, I had to pay for it. Aubrey's like, gurgle, sigh. Event Leviathan guy shows like the Zodiac guy from the Final Crisis. Did you happen to pick up King of Nowhere? It's sitting in my bowl. I did not. I don't think they actually had it at my shop. I don't remember seeing it there. Gerald Lang says, I think Bendis would be better suited on Batman. Him and Maleev doing crime, which is his better writing than superheroes. I think you might be right. I'm not saying I want Bendis on Batman because I think what we have on Batman now is great. But I think you're right. I think Bendis does a better job at like street level characters. And Superman's just not that character. And Andrew says, it's a family show, Mike. I try to be polite. Going back to his comment back there where he could have said a bad word, but he did not. So, guys, thank you again so much for watching. If you haven't, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're a new viewer. And it really takes the channel a long way. You guys are doing awesome. Thank you for the great conversation. I look forward to this each and every Thursday when I can do it. And let's keep going. So let's see. What's next on our list? Marauders, I think. Marauders issue 9. I keep bringing up Marauders because, one, I only bought 12 books this week. And the events that are going on in Marauders right now are pretty important because obviously we have Kitty Pryde, who is supposedly dead right now. She was like lost in the ocean and then she was found. And I think Bishop found her, and now she's considered not a mutant, and she's going through these protocols of these resurrection protocols and whatnot, and they're trying to bring her back to life, and they're failing. So that's pretty crazy right there, and it's sad. But what happens in this book, we wind up seeing Pyro makes his way back to Krakoa and whatnot, and he comes, I don't know what was going on in the beginning of this book with him and Jean like partying here. But this panel was really freaking awesome because she's on a Phoenix, what is it, a Trans Am or a Firebird, right? And this represents her perfect, man. Hot chick known as the Phoenix, and she's on there. I thought that was freaking cool. I don't know. They're having fun. They're partying, whatever it is. And then whatever happens is we wind up seeing, what's his face on there? Why can't I never remember the guy's name? And I always say it wrong. I always say it's Stinger, but it's what's his face from Ant-Man. And he's, I don't know what happens. He's in this submarine and he does battle in Krakoa. They make him see all kinds of illusions and shit like that when he tries to escape, and they wind up capturing him. Yellow Jacket, that's his name. And so whatever, he tries to take over the island or whatnot, and it was all fake, and they all end up winning at the end of the day. And I was like, okay, I don't care about that. But what I cared about was the Kitty Pryde situation. Like I said, She is in the Resurrection Protocol, and every time they try to bring her back, it's a failure. And all of the X-Men are definitely disappointed by this whole situation. Lockheed has a new home, but he realizes that now he must leave and he must find Kitty Pryde. I thought it was cool how this scene was really nice as he says goodbye to the girl, leaves her like a little fish on the side of the bed, and takes off. So it was a cool issue. It was nothing like spectacular. Again, this was another book that was just like, okay, it's there. We're dealing with the situation at hand with Kate Pryde, but it was a fun read. It was just okay for me. So I don't know how many of you guys are still actually reading Marauders right now, but it was an okay issue. So we'll see what happens here if anybody has anything else to say about it. Not many people do, because I don't think anything really happened that was important. Zero Forever says, I found Bendis and did write the best Cyclops. Yeah, I wouldn't say that when Bendis was in Marvel, especially in his earlier days, I thought that's when he wrote the best. When he wrote Ultimate Spider-Man, the first volume, I thought that was amazing, right? When he was in his own universe and he had his own character to play with, I thought that was great. Even Naomi, I think, is good because it's their own character that he created, But just some of the other stuff that he's currently done, I'm just not a fan of right now. Just not, man. Zero Forever says, oh, congrats on the subs, Mike. Thank you. Just hit that 6K. Nowhere near some of the other comic guys out there, but I take what I can get, right? Tone Look says, hey, Mike, and congrats on the 6,000 subs. Nice one. Thank you so much. Andrew says, Yellow Jacket. Yes, it was yellow. I can't believe I couldn't remember that name. Geez, man. You think I would have these characters in the back of my head, but, certain things I just don't retain, right? Zero for us says, Kitty's one of my favorite X-Peeps. Yeah, she's a great character, and I don't know what her plans are now. Like, if they do resurrect her, does that mean she's a mutant now? I don't know. Or what's going to be the next step of her evolutionary process? It's just a really great mystery, and what they're going to do with her, who knows? But it's fun. Go along for the ride. Moon Knight loves Marauders. Thinks it's a good read. I agree with you. I think it's good. My favorite right now, again, it's still X-Force. Then I think it's X-Men. And then I think it's Marauders. I haven't seen enough of Wolverine yet to make a true determination if that is going to be in the top 3 or not. Andrew says, I crack up every time I see Pyro with that skull on his face. I know, dude's crazy, man. How do you get a face tattoo like that, right? Guy's intense. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen with these resurrections on how it eventually takes its toll on the mutants and how it changes their psyche and things like that. We've always saw in the Dawn of X and House of X, we saw what happened into the future to other mutants when you combine them and things like that. And now we just see little glimpses of things of that you read way out into the future, which I think is cool. David says, I love the new Pyro. Definitely gives me a laugh every time. How about when they were singing Journey? Yeah, that's so awesome, man. Those 2 pages in the beginning were freaking awesome, and I loved seeing Pyro back just period, even before he had the skull tattoo on. Part of the evil, Brotherhood of Mutants. And he was just dead for the longest time. So when they brought him back, I was like, sweet, man. I love Pyro. I think he's a cool character. Zero says Lockheed is one of the best characters that have never said a word. And that's what's cool. I think that's good writing. If you have a character in there that doesn't say anything and you feel attached to it, the expression says it all right there. All right. So let's go on now. Let's see. I don't think we talked about a really phenomenal book yet. I think these books were average, and I don't think they were bad, but I think, I'm sorry, Superman villain sucked. I'm sorry about that. But let's talk about a decent book here. Let's talk about Justice League. So Justice League is written by Robert Venditti now, in case you guys don't know that by now. And some people could have overlooked this and not picked it up. And I think this is a good time to pick it up. I think at issue 40, it was a good time to pick it up. And this story has to do with Eradicator Superman bringing Daxamites down to Earth, and they're overrunning the Earth, and they're trying to take over Earth. And in the last issue, you wind up seeing Wonder Woman. She was captured by Eradicator Superman, taken to the Hall of Justice, and now he looks at her as the next evolutionary process of species to help him, I guess, rule Earth or whatnot, because that's his job, always to evolutionize, Kryptonians or whatever. So he feels like he can use her DNA and some of the others to make a new species because she's that powerful. And we wound up getting to see that. Who's the magician lady? I forgot her freaking name. See, again, sorcerer people, I'm just not good with at all. Is it Zandu? Madam Zandu? Zando? Zansu? Zando? Is that how you say her name? She was recruited by Batman to use the magic to stop these Daxamites. And when Superman comes in and tries to stop Eradicator Superman, he saves Wonder Woman. They wind up going out. They wind up doing this battle. Madame Zandu and Green Lantern John Stewart team up together to go to this planet that we don't know. And Flash has the magic tethered to him from Zandu, and his goal is to run as fast as he freaking can so Eradicator Superman and all the Daxamites can go after him and then go through this portal and transport them to this elsewhere world, place. And Flash teases Eradicator, and Flash goes to Eradicator and says, dude, I can just go back in time and I can erase all you motherfuckers and you guys will go away. And so that's when Eradicator Superman feels threatened. And we see Barry use the Speed Force, and he runs as fast as he possibly can, which is a really great scene. I really enjoyed this part of the book. And we get to see him use this portal and whatnot and go through it. And he leads Eradicator Superman and all of the Daxamites to this elsewhere planet. And it's so far away that they don't have the sun's radiation to power themselves out. So Eradicator and all the Daxamites are going to lose their power. And then we get to see the Justice League getting ready to fight or battle with them one last time. It was so good, man. I really enjoyed this book. I think Justice League is a lot of fun right now. And I'm happy to be on board with this book for the first time in a very long time. I think it was since the New 52 is the last time I read the Justice League, when we had, I think Jeff Johns wrote it. Jason Fabok did the artwork on it and whatnot. And I loved it then. And this kind of like reminds me of that. So I'm curious to see what Venditti has in store for this in the future, because this is just the introductory story arc, jumping on point for the readers. So I definitely say go out there and pick it up, guys. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And so Justice League Issue 42 is definitely worth the read. So only a couple comments here, so we'll go over them real quick before we jump into Batman. So let's see. Death kind of annoys me in comics because it's been so overdone by Event Comics. It's not shocking like it was way back when. I agree. I think death is not once what it was. And the thing that the X-Men comics do that kind of pisses me off right now, and I said this in an earlier podcast on the Comic Book Weekly podcast, but I said it, when it comes to the X-Men books, we have death happens all the time now. We have Storm who's dying, Kate Pryde who died, Domino died. Who else has already died? In the Dawn of X, House of X, we've had Jean Grey die, Cyclops die. I think Colossus died. And we've had Quentin Quire, he died in X-Force. So we have all these characters die, and they didn't die for years and years and years in the comic books. And now because we have this resurrection protocol, we get these characters that all of a sudden just die every 5 seconds. And it's just like, oh, we can just bring them back to life. So it's just like, well, let's just kill everybody off. And I don't think that it's overkill, in my opinion. So I think that if you have somebody die, okay, for instance, like Kitty Pryde, and she can't be brought back to life, I think that's going to be much more impactful. And maybe that's where they're going with it. So I don't know, but I just don't agree how we can kill all these X-Men when they didn't die for years and years and years. So that's kind of my story there. That's my little soapbox there. Let's see. Tone Loke says, just wondering, did you find a room in your garage for that awesome symbiote Spider-Man statue? Yes, I did get that symbiote Spider-Man statue. And I actually recorded a video for it today. I have to edit it. It's going to be up during the weekend. So it is unboxed. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to lift up my camera. I'm going to show you this statue right now. So real quick. So it is right there. So that's that Spider-Man symbiote PVC diorama. It's limited to 5,000. So that's where it goes. So it goes on like one of my shelf with all my stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing, man. I got it for like $30. It was a good pickup. And, with the store credit that I get at my comic book shop, I think it was definitely worth the price. And I might get a couple more, only in the Spider-Man family. I think there's a Carnage one that looks really, really good. And then there's a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man that looks really good. And I think that's all I can really honestly buy, because I just don't have the room to purchase these things to keep them anywhere. I don't have any shelving and stuff like that. So, we'll see what happens with it. All right, so let's see. Cardstock Variant says, can I jump blindly into Justice League with the new Venditti series? Yes, absolutely. Like I talked about, issue 40 is the first issue of it, and I'm sure it's still on the stands, and it's a good story arc. I think you will like it. It's a fun read. It's action packed. It's reminds you of what comics used to be, with not such an in-depth story. So I think it's definitely a good jumping on point. Just call her Doc Hawk. Everyone who name you can't remember can be Dark Hawk. LOL. And Fabic is awesome. Shame he's taking forever on that Joker book, but that seems to be the thing with John's books. Hey, if it's good, that's all that matters. Sapphire Comic Sanctuary. There were lots of great indie titles this week. You make a good point there. There was a lot of people saying there was some great independents that did come out this week. And I picked up Mercy and Into the Future. Both were surprisingly really good. We talked about the Mercy book earlier. I just need a little bit more. I'm not saying that was a bad book. I just was saying that it's just, there's a lot of mystery behind it, and I need to know more, and I need to read a little bit more to get attached to the characters. Once I get attached to the characters, that's when I get attached to a book. I love seeing the world and things like that, but once the characters interest me, that's when I really truly get attached. Zero Forever Source says, Storm, I don't think has ever died because of the Siege perilous thing. Perilous. I can't read. So David says, sweet statue. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Zero says sleek. So yeah, man, it's one of those things that if you can't afford the big statues, the really nice ones, right, this is a good affordable option. I think the average price point for those PVC statues are $50. And at least that's what my shop sells them for when they come out. And I think it's a good affordable option if you want something to collect, right? All right, so let's move on to the next book. Let's talk about Batman. This is issue 90. I think Batman is a freaking awesome read right now. It's so good. I really enjoy it. And in this issue, we wind up seeing Catwoman talk about the designer. on how she met the designer for the first time with the Joker, with Riddler, and with the Penguin. And it was pretty cool because it was the early days right after things got started. And the artwork done by, who is it? George Jimenez is absolutely gorgeous. Look at the opening pages to this book. Here we got Harley in there, right? She's helping out Batman. And we wound up getting some of the old days of the way Catwoman looked like. And I thought that was really nice. And just all the classic characters from the early days. It was just so well drawn. And it was so well written, as you get to see the designer here try to recruit our villains to make a deal to, I guess, come up with this grand design to take over Gotham. And then obviously he gets a portion of their earnings or their money. And we don't get the origin story of the designer in this issue. We just get how he used to fight a detective, he said, and he felt like that this detective always had one up from him. So the designer's thing is he comes up with a plan. And when he finds a flaw in his plan, he's got to make the design better. So he tries to come up with a plan to make an even better plan. I guess that's all you can say there. So he goes in there. He tries to make these deals with their villains, right, of the Rogues Gallery here. And everything works good with Catwoman. Everything works good with the Joker. Everything is good with I'm sorry, not everything works good with the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, and Catwoman. When it came to the Joker, they were talking for hours and hours and hours. And the next thing you wind up seeing is the designer winds up coming out and basically says, we got to kill them all. And so whatever the Joker said to the designer set him off. And what happens is the Joker sits there and shoots the designer right in the head and supposedly kills him. Now, what we saw in the last issue is that the designer is possibly back, right? And that's what Catwoman was so afraid of, is that he's going to go after them for what they all did to him. So that's why she's so scared. And the secret, her grand design had to deal with Bruce Wayne, Batman, Bruce Enterprises, or Wayne Enterprises, and all that other stuff. So man, oh man, what a great flipping issue this was. This story is really being carried out well. Tynion is just doing an awesome job, or Tynion, however you say his name. But there's the grand designer there. He looks really good. It's just an awesome, awesome issue. And they said, based off of the events that happened, this is what kind of set Joker to the level that he is today. So, man, oh man, such a great read. And I can't wait to read more of this run that he's doing. So great stuff. If you guys did not read Batman yet, go out there, read it, appreciate it for yourself. It's a lot of fun. Definitely not a disappointment whatsoever. And it kind of cooled down the whole Punchline situation, right? So we don't want to have Punchline in this issue, but we have the grand designer, and we'll see what happens with issue 91 going forward. All right, so we got a few comments here. Let's see what we have. All right, so Sapphire is like, oh, yes. And then says, first prints of Batman 89 are going for $25 and $30 at my comic shop. Surprised you have them there. My shop definitely does not have any there. And I know that Hellions thing is going for a lot of money still, too. Zero says, yeah, I've met Fabik a few times. He's a great guy. He's commented on a couple of my videos like long time ago. So he does seem like a really nice guy. That book is freaking pretty. Yeah, it surely is. It's a nice looking book. Batman's gorgeously drawn. Joker's War begins in about 2 more issues, I believe. So does the Joker War book take place in Batman, or is it an actual separate series on its own? I haven't looked at solicits to actually find that out. If you want to put it in the comments, go ahead. Andrew says Batman 90 was beautiful. Absolutely. And then Zero says, yeah, I looked it over. Wow, it's just so good. I'm a Harley fan, and I loved how she was drawn. And I love the way she's written. I have said so many times that the way she's been written these days, it's just too goofy. It's too silly. It's too over the top. And the way her writing is here is the way she should be written all the time when she's written in these Batman books. I think it's so well done. Even when she was in Heroes in Crisis, even though that wasn't my favorite series in the world, I thought Harley was written well there. Sapphire says Joker War will cross over with Nightwing, Batgirl, and several other titles. Great. I don't read Batgirl. I don't read Nightwing. I just haven't been a fan of those particular books. I'm not a fan of the whole Rick Grayson situation. I read that for a while. I didn't think they were going to go as long as they have with it. Batgirl I've been on and off with. But if it does with the Joker War, I'll probably pick it up then. Zero says, I only buy Harley for DC. Sapphire says, but the meat of it will be in Batman. And that's good to know. And I think I'll grab that issue just because it's pretty. All right. So let's talk about the last book of the day, guys. Strange Academy, right? So if you have not read this book yet or on the fence about buying this book, and you're a fan of magic, Doctor Strange, and stuff like that, I think you're going to really like this book. Now, my thing is if you don't like teen books, coming of age books, I don't know if this might be for you. But there's also Scotty Young who writes it, who's a great fantasy type of writer. And you have Humberto Ramos, who's a great artist for like exaggerated expressions and things like that. And he's done Spider-Man for the longest time. And he still does Spider-Man every once in a while. I wound up getting the J. Scott Campbell variant cover that has all these characters on there. And I think this is a great book. And it introduces a lot of new characters on it. And it was a lot of fun to read. Okay. So we get to learn about a new character. Her name is Emily Bright. She has powers. She has magic powers, but she doesn't know how to control them. Reminds you of X-Men, right? It has that X-Men feel to it. It's like you develop your mutant powers. You know, you don't know how to control it. What do I do with them? It's kind of the same thing. Like the Strange Academy has a person that goes out, recruits the person, and brings it to the Strange Academy. The thing is about this academy that it's a first-year institute. They've never had it before. But there's been more, I guess, what do you want to call it, magic in the air, where there's a lot of people developing sorcery-like powers. And so they're all being recruited, young heroes, to, you know, control these powers. The artwork in this book is really well done. Like I said, Humberto Ramos does a great job, and it fits the tone of the book. The coloring is really nice in it. Also, it's just a great book to read. Okay, so we wound up seeing Emily Bright get recruited to the Strange Academy, which is in New Orleans, and it's behind in a forest, and it's hidden and things like that. And you get introduced to all the characters in the book. Now, the one thing about this book is it has a lot of characters, and it introduces you to all of them. So that can be a little bit overwhelming at times, but they all have their little moments on where they shine. And it's quite funny at times. I thought it was really good. You wind up seeing like this frost giant from, that is brought there from Loki. You wind up seeing two Asgardian brothers wind up coming there as well. And they're like, there's a frost giant here. One kid's got like a man bun. The other kid is normal. You get the son of Dormammu is coming there. What else did you have? You wind up getting just a bunch of random characters, and one kid's from Limbo and is all depressed and like emo-like and does nothing but give negative thoughts, and they're all roomed together with people that are completely opposite. The main person that's behind this is it's Doctor Strange Academy, but it looks like the head person is Dr. Voodoo, which is cool. He's got a really good voice in here, and it makes me almost feel like he's like Dumbledore from Harry Potter or whatever. And this book kind of reminds me of like a Harry Potter vibe. They get to see the tour of the campus. They get to see their rooms. They get to room with their roommates. And it's just kind of funny. There's just like, there's the one Asgardian's like, I'm going to hate being your roommate. And the Dormammu guy's like, yeah, same here. And he's like, cool. And the other guy's like, yep, cool. He's like, whatever. And he's like, oh, it's just funny. It's hysterical. And then there's this like swamp guy, and he's just like, hola, amigo, I'm Jermaine. And then the swamp guy just like stands there, and he's just like, okay. When he goes to shake his hand, there's just really great comedic moments in this book. And once you get like little brief introductions of all these characters, Doctor Strange finally makes his appearance in this book, and he's fighting some demon-like ass creature in here. And he's like, kids, I need your help on your first day. You don't want to get killed, do you? And they're like, okay. And you get to see them all use their powers, and they fight, and they defeat this creature or whatnot. And he's like, welcome to the school. And he's just like, try not to die. And all the kids are like, and the facial expressions are like awesome. And they got all this gook on them and things like that. It's so real good. And then if you want to apply to this Strange Academy, it's got this cool little application in the back so you can actually join the school. So I loved this book. This book really stood out amongst all the other books besides Batman for me. This is the way you really do a number one. I feel like that I'm already going to love a lot of these characters in this book. And then that for me, that's what makes a book shine, man. It was such an awesome read. And if you guys are on the fence about Strange Academy, I was at first. I wasn't sure I was going to like this, but this first issue sold me. And I can't wait to see what it has to offer and how these kids are going to grow and how maybe they could be the next legacy of other characters, right? You know, and this book one day, you know, could be worth something because it's a first appearance of pretty much all these characters and their mentors in there. There's going to be like Scarlet Witch and Magic and a couple other characters in there too. So yeah, really great read. Surprising. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. Go out and buy it. Definitely worth the $4.99 that it costs for this book. So yeah, I want to hear what you guys think about this one if you read it already. So let's see. We got a few comments here. All right. 1, 2, 3. That's like I got a legit count. Okay. First one. Previews World is awesome to figure out solicits. I do have Previews World, and there's times where I do read them, and there's sometimes that I don't. But I do buy the Previews books, right? I have the DC solicits, and I do have Marvel solicit in physical format. I actually do a video series on solicits when I get time to fit it in there through the week. So I just didn't get a chance to read this week's yet. But you're right. I love the Previews World. Moon Knight 101 says Rick Grayson. Yeah, exactly. I know you're laughing because it's not good. Sapphire says this one was actually really fun to read. It really, really was. Great book. Rick Grayson gives me PTSD. My God, that story started off really good, right? I would have loved to see all his PTSD. But as long as it's gone on, it's just ridiculous. It would have been cool if it was like, you know, couple month thing or whatever it was, and then him getting back to the way he was. And like, I don't hear anybody reading it or talking about it or anything. All right, so let's see. And here we get, I wish he wrote Unhinged and Crazy, not Deadpool with ovaries. Oh, so we're talking about Harley Quinn. And I agree with you. It's just not the way she should be written. Sapphire says, my LCS was almost completely sold out of Strange Academy. Wow, that's a surprise, you know? But I guess if you're a fan of Scotty Young, you know, people do like his writing, and I do. I currently read Middle West, which is another book that he's writing for Image Comics, and that's a really great read as well. Zero says, is Nico from Runaways in it? Yes, thank you for reminding me. She is another one of the administrators that's going to be in that book. She was kind of like in the background behind Scarlet Witch, and it mentioned Nico in there. And I was like, yes, I'm not a huge Runaways fan, but Nico is one of the characters that I really like because I liked her in Avengers Arena. I thought she was really well done there. So, yeah, she's in that book, and I'm happy she's in there. Strange Academy was everything I wanted it to be. Hogwarts in the MU. I talked to Scotty Young about it as C2E2. He's having a lot of fun with this book. That's great. I hope this book sells thousands or billions so we can get this book for a long time. Zero Forever says he's great on the right book. Ramos is. Yeah, I agree. Moon Knight. I'm surprisingly liked all the characters. Despair, Emily Bright, the Asgardians, Dormammu's son, the fairy, the New Orleans girl with the secrets. Oh, yeah. That part was funny. You get that limbo person rooming with the New Orleans girl, and the limbo girl is the limbo person's like, I know your secret. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I don't have any secret. He's like, yes, you do. And it's like, okay. It's so funny. The Blackest Night's on, and he says, hey, what's up? And then we get Zero Forever goes, I'll grab it if my shop has it. Should be heading there today at some point. Oh, yeah, you'll like it. Definitely go out and buy it. Find it. If not, then read it online if you can. From like Comixology. Andrew says, I'm totally applying this Strange Academy. Would you want to go? Maybe we'll be in the same class together. I'm on board. This is the first like magic book that I've liked. Moon Knight says, I'm a huge Runaways fan. That's cool. Sapphire says, I think going back to Batman, James Tynion is heralding Batman to an end right before G5 is supposed to start. Man, I hope not, dude. I don't even want to hear about that G5 stuff. I just don't. Zero goes, yeah, I love the first two series. Now I'm slowly selling off that collection. Moon Knight says, would love to see these characters develop. Man, that would be cool if they had some legs. This book would actually be worth some money because there's so many characters on there. And I love there's a moment in there where he's like, do you know Thor? Do you know this guy? Do you know that guy? He's like, no, I don't know any of those guys because Asgard is a very big place. And I like that. Frankie Gonzalez says, I wanted one upset. I didn't get one. Had a good feeling about this one. Sapphire says, nearly 30 years old, never got my letters to Hogwarts, so maybe I can be a student here. We got an official application, man. Where's it going to go? Yeah, Strange Academy. And let's see. Avengers Arena was great. Also, it had Darkhawk. Yeah, that's funny, Zero. It's right that you mentioned that. I remember Darkhawk was in that book, and I'm like, dude, Darkhawk's in there because at that time, we didn't see that much of Darkhawk at all. I mean, you still don't see him that much, but we've seen him a few times since. And it's funny. I have an entire run of Darkhawk in a box in this shelving unit over here. It's in like this random box that I got. I think I won an auction on it from eBay, and I got it super cheap. It was like $5, and I got a ton of them. So yeah, it's cool. But yeah, man. So yeah, Strange Academy is definitely a book to purchase. That's probably the standout of the week for me so far. I have a couple of books to read that are left, not too many. One is going to be Flash 750, so we'll see how that turns out. And if that leads to anything in the future, I'm not sure if it leads or if it touches on, the whole situation of maybe what's going on with Wally West. I don't know, but I don't know. We'll see. But it was a little bit of a slower week for me in comics. Now, next week, guys, holy cow, there is books, and more books coming out next week. So stay tuned. It's going to be hard for me to pick like 6 or 7 books to talk about because it's a huge week. And if you haven't checked it out, check out my most anticipated comics of the week for next week. It's already posted on here where I tell you my top 12 comic books that I'm anticipating for next week. So guys, until next time, I appreciate y'all with the love for the 6K and watching this show and all the comics and great discussion. And guys, thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Take care. Bye.